Fred Lewis Pattee was an American writer and scholar known for his role in American literary history while serving as professor at Penn State University for over 30 years. Born in Bristol in 1863, the son of farmer Lewis Franklin Pattee and Mary Philbrick Ingalls. Educated at New Hampton School and Dartmouth College, he became a teacher, eventually becoming professor of literature at Penn State University. In 1889, he married Anna Lura Plumer, who died in 1927, with Pattee remarrying to Grace Gorrell-Garee in 1928. He became full professor of American literature at Penn State University in 1895, a post which he held until 1928. He died in Winter Park, Florida, in 1950. He is most well known for his work on American literary history, such as A History of American Literature since 1870 and The First Century of American Literature, as well as collecting the essays of John Neal, who wrote about American literary history in the 1820s. His first work of fiction, Mary Garvin, came out in 1902, followed in 1905 by today's subject, The House of the Black Ring. The story begins in Pennsylvania's Seven Mountains, at the farm of Dan Tressler, among the so-called Pennsylvania Dutch. In the middle of social revelry, one notes the arrival of Uri Drebelbis, who says that while chasing skirts the night before, as he always does, he saw strange lights and heard ominous laughter coming from the old Heller house, which everyone assumes is haunted. Dan Tressler is not convinced, but the more pressing issue for his guests is that he dared invite Al Farthing and his family over for the holidays, which no one else would dare to do, since the local landlord, Squire Hartswick, really hates his guts. The squire owns most of the farms in the valley, and sets his own price for buying wheat, which is extremely low, and is the only one selling groceries, which are extremely expensive. Al Farthing is so disgusted by this profiteering, he starts buying other farmers' grain at a higher price and marketing his produce, and intends to go into selling farmers' tools, which makes the squire hate him ever so much and threaten him more or less in public. The story of the haunting, we find out, is derived from when John Hartswick, Ira Hartswick's direct ancestor, cheated Matthew Heller out of his claim to the valley by a mere legal technicality, and Heller curses Hartswick and all his progeny. That the house is haunted, as Matthew Heller said it would be, is seemingly confirmed when Dan Tressler is dared to go touch a snake hanging from the front of the house, the Heller cabin surrounded by a black ominous ring, which looks as if it was burned into the ground. He gets quickly scared off by the same insane laughter as Uli Drebelbis. Ironically, Jim Farthing, Al's son, comes across Rose Hartswick, Ira's daughter, while both are riding on horseback, with Rose borrowing Jim's trotter to race with, admiring her speed, and things take their usual course. This makes old Ira very mad, and he repeatedly threatens Jim if he should ever speak to his daughter again, because he wants her to marry the postmaster. Aside from guilt-tripping Rose into marrying a man she does not love, he also tries to implicate the Farthings in a series of robberies in the region, asserts that Al Farthing uses evil magic to hex people, and tries to have 2 people burn down his farm. Rose, meanwhile, involves an old witch woman to try and change her father's mind, but the old woman only prophesies his death. At the same time, Jim's brother Tom gets involved with Ilona Heller, who keeps disappearing on him quite mysteriously, as the Hellers are wont to do. The squire then tries to pin yet more robberies on the Farthing family, who manage to clear themselves quite easily, to his embarrassment, but then he leads a lynch mob to follow the Farthings after stolen goods are found on their farm, but it turns out the robberies were done by 2 men hiding in a secret cave beneath the old Heller house, one of them Lona Heller's brother, and that the squire tried to frame the Farthings by breaking into his own store and fabricating evidence, which leads to Rose getting her way in the end despite all his efforts. The story is fairly well written as a standard romance, with some local colour, but the supernatural element is minor and rationalized, aside from Grandma Miller's clairvoyance, which turns out to be 100% true and is never explained. It is an adequate read, but there is not much weird about it all.